I wanted to make this video to be able to share with you my 10 years and counting of sewing experience, in the hopes that if you ever wanted to learn how to sew, or you just literally bought a sewing machine but you have no idea where to begin, we can do it here together. My goal is to be as detailed as possible for you to be able to understand the whole process of what it takes to make any garment at all. I will be teaching you from easy stuff like how to thread your sewing machine, to how to hem, to the more difficult stuff like pattern making or tailoring. At the end of all of this, you will be able to do this with your eyes closed, but what I do want is for you to be able to build your confidence towards sewing so that you let go of that fear of I don't know how. For the most part, we will be doing some thrifting or upcycling, so collectively each of us can plant a small little seed into our Mother Earth. And occasionally we will be spoiling our creativity with some brand new beautiful fabric. Nonetheless, in this video, I will be teaching you how to make this strapped bustier corset with an adjustable back. I wanted to begin with a little something more complex, so in the next tutorials you feel a lot more confident and you let your creativity take over. Here are some of the tools that you will be needing for this garment: a ruler, fabric scissors, pins, a seam ripper just in case, bobby pin, a measuring tape, matching thread, and 1 yard of fabric of your choice. Now you will also be needing some pattern making paper. Personally, for years I've used gift wrapping paper that I buy at the dollar store. It's affordable and I like it because it has guidelines, but if you want actual pattern making paper, you can find it at any fabric store, Uline, or even Amazon. Begin by marking a center point at the top of the breast, and then on a white sheet of paper you are going to mark a pivot point at the corner. This pivot point will resemble the center point from your breast. The first measurement will be from the center point to your sternum bone. On the white sheet of paper you will measure from the pivot point all the way to where the measurement ends. Mark it and draw a line all the way down. Fold the paper from the corner all the way down to where the drawn line is. Then draw another line at the fold, creating a right triangle. For the second measurement, measure the horizontal diameter of the breast. Next, on the paper from the pivot point, you will draw a sequence of dots in a curved fashion, with the bottom dot touching the leg of the right triangle. Then connect the dots to create the curve like so. For the third measurement, measure from the center point of the breast down to where the curve of the breast ends. From the tip point of the right triangle, measure down to the drawn curve and then draw a line connecting measurements number 2 and number 3. Fourth measurement will be from the center point diagonally down to the bottom of the end of the breast. On the white paper, measure from the tip point of the right triangle and down along the folded line and mark. For the fifth and last measurement, you will measure the vertical diameter of the breast and mark on the white paper like so. Now connect all the points around and cut. Here's a little recap of the measurements to get a better understanding. And there you have it, your custom-made cup size for your bustier. For the corset, I used one of my bras to get the correct size of the bottom of the curve of the breast and space between, but you can always just measure it. Then measure from the middle of the breast down to how long you would like your top to be. Measure the middle space between your breasts and find the middle point. Now from the middle, draw a line down to the bottom. Find the midpoint of the half circle, mark it, and draw another line. Add 1 centimeter off the side and draw a line down. Now for the back side, measure around the torso, get the half of that and place that measurement at the midpoint between the breasts, and from there measure out. This next step is totally up to you. I made the bottom somewhat curved to help the waist look slimmer and the hips more curvy. Now connect the top like so. We will only be using half of this. Cut it, and there you have it, the pattern for the corset. Once you have all the patterns, place them onto your pattern making paper to add 1 centimeter of seam allowance all around each pattern. Seam allowance is what's going to allow us to sew each pattern together and hem them down without messing up the measurements. Using the new patterns with the extra seam allowance, fold your fabric to be able to cut 2 identical pieces of each pattern. I used some leftover fabric I found in my fabric stash. That's what you see me fold as I cut each piece. And these are the 8 pieces that you should end up with. Pin all raw edges of the corset right sides together and sew a straight stitch. Now let's hem the top edges of the corset. And sew a straight stitch. Hem the top part of the cup and sew a straight line. Now for this step, make sure your sewing machine is at the longest stitch and then sew a seam on the underside of the cup, leaving 1 centimeter of space. The long stitch will allow you to gather it so it will fit in the cup part of the corset. Once you have the bustier and the corset ready, you are going to pin them right sides together as such and sew with a straight stitch. Now hem the bottom and sew a straight stitch. For the straps, measure from the center point of your breast all the way to where the end of your scapula bone ends. And that will be the length for the straps. The width will be 4 inches. Now cut 2 of those. Also cut 10 strips that will be 2 inches by 3 inches. Fold them all in half and sew a straight stitch. Now with the bobby pin, turn them inside out like so. And now iron them flat. Attach the straps to the bustier and sew a straight stitch. Now attach to the back to your best fit and sew in place. For the 10 strips, fold them in half as shown and pin them to the right side of the corset at the raw edges of the back. Sew a straight line and then fold inwards and sew again. Do this to both sides. Make sure to get rid of any excess fabric. Last but not least, for the adjustable back strap, cut a 47" by 2" strip. Fold and sew a straight stitch. Turn it inside out and then sew both raw edges in. I will be leaving the measurements for the straps in the description box. Iron them flat and then loop it in the back like a shoelace. And voila! Your first handmade strap bustier corset with an adjustable back. Congratulations! I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was easy for you to follow along. If you need a little more help with the pattern making, I will be leaving a PDF file that I've constructed for you right underneath in the video description. And if you have any ideas of anything that you would like me to create next, or any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for the support and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next tutorial.